We all need that extra spark this weekend to help us win over the weekend. I got 10 names you must add today on today's action packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we are number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Ane. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the bell below to subscribe to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Also, please, if you're listening, watching, or anywhere, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the show. And if you get a chance, leave us a 5-star rating and review. It really helps out the show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So I got a great episode for you today. Obviously, it's a must-add players episode, part 2 of the week. And I got 10 names you're going to want to add. I got 5 hitters, 5 pitchers, like always, that I think are going to make an impact on your team. Maybe some long-term and some on the short-term, all coming up today. And we're going to start off with a guy that I'm truly infatuated with coming into the season. Obviously was dealing with some, underperformance, underwhelming things and some injuries, but I think might be getting on the right track. And that's Evan Carter, the outfielder for the Texas Rangers. He has been on a tear. Over the last week, 5 runs, 2 bombs, 5 ribs, batting .412. He has looked sensational. I truly love it. Over the last month, he's just been good. But the last 2 weeks have been stellar. Look, Evan Carter was one of my favorite prospects out of that class. I'll be straight. Coming into the year after, because he got a September call up in 23, going into 24, I figured, okay, cool. Out of all the prospects that were called up going into the year that had a September call up, or even just were waiting for, he was the most proven. Not only did he, show out in the regular season, but really played really well all the way to the World Series run and winning the World Series. It was really seeming like it was going to be a locked and loaded season for him, but unfortunately underperformed. And this season, I still liked him. I figured, okay, maybe he was dealing with a little bit more of the sophomore slumpies and, or pretty much the freshman blues. And, maybe he needed next year. Well, this year he couldn't make the team out of camp. Then when he gets called up, he started looking good, and then unfortunately got hurt. Now he's back and he's playing good again. I'm interested. I really like him, and I think there might be some long-term value. So under the hood, it looks a little interesting as well. His xWOB is at 340. His expected batting average is 261, and his expected slug is a 459. Average exit velocity is slow, but that'll crank on up. He's barreling 12% of the time. Launch angle is absolutely beautiful. He's not really chasing. He is striking out. But, he's whiffing, but he is not striking out. Like to see him walk a little bit more because he does have good plate discipline in the minors. So, ultimately, I'm looking at him and I go, I'm seeing glimpses. I'm seeing indications of a guy that's getting ready to turn it on. And a guy that I think, we can just look at and say, okay, 24 was a fluke. 23 was a starting point. And now 25, I think, is the breakout. So, for me, I'm adding him everywhere. The dude is literally 11% owned, and that needs to change immediately. I think him being outfield with, the underwhelming performances at that position on top of, just the fact of the upside that this kid can offer 25, decent batting average. I think 255 is a reasonable expectation for rest of year. And that team is good. I think is going to bounce back. And out of nowhere, Marcus Semien decided to heat up. Still got Young there. Still got Corey Seager, who we know will eventually explode. And if Evan Carter can add into that mix and, become a key cog in that machine, he's going to benefit greatly. So I'm adding him just on the upside, but I think there's more to come. So I want to move on, and I want to talk about this next guy here, Mr. Alejandro Kirk of the Toronto Blue Jays, playing catcher. He has been on a nice little tear over the last week. 5 runs, 2 bombs, 8 ribs, batting .500. Even over the last 2 weeks. 8 runs, 2 bombs, 12 ribs, batting .463. Now, look, Kirk was always somebody that I always kind of had a guilty pleasure for, that I figured, okay, maybe could be somebody valuable because, he showed a lot of power when he was coming up, but it's never really lived up to it. So for me, for Kirk, how I'm handling him is He's a great streamer. Some of the catches we drafted aren't really, panning out and things like that. And okay, we now need to figure out, okay, what's our next move here? Well, the next move is streaming the position, which I'm never opposed to because I really devalue catchers as a whole because I just don't think that they're, all that valuable. I mean, you look at how Rutschman's still playing. You look how William Contreras started off the season. You look at Wilson Contreras. Salvador Perez is finally maybe turning it on and might get consistent. Like all these top end guys that you paid high prices for never really pan out. So I'm always down to just stream. So Kirk is the next one up that's streamable and is performing, and then we'll move on to the next guy right after that. So he's an add and then a drop it like he's hot kind of type player because he just doesn't really do it for me. He doesn't really take it to that level where I think there's going to be consistency, even though everything under the hood looks great. I just, again, don't foresee him really lasting. The power isn't on a good pace for a guy that hit 200 at bats. Guy really doesn't have a lot of runs, etc. But it is what it is. I don't think there's too many bright days for him. So I am going to stream and then drop. Let's move on. Let's talk about Abraham Toro of those Boston Red Sox playing first, second, and third, which is great for us in fantasy. 27% owned, and had a good week. 6 runs, a bomb, 6 ribs, batting 400, looking good. Also, as I'm recording, hit another bomb. So that's really more like 7 runs, 2 bombs, 7 ribs. And he's already batting 500 on the night. So looking mighty stout tonight and this week. Now, personally, I don't really care. I don't think he has any long term value, in my opinion. Toro is not somebody that's been on my radar at all. The dude is 28 years old, never really been fantasy relevant or relevant at all. And when it comes to fantasy, when it comes to baseball, and it's been pretty much a journeyman. Started off in Houston, then went over to Seattle, then Milwaukee, then Oakland, and now Boston. He's not anybody that you're truly counting on, but him at 27% owned with the way he's playing over the last week, he genuinely needs to just be added because he's on a heater. And, that is part of how you win fantasy baseball is just streaming guys that are super hot that can contribute to your lineup now. And that positional flexibility is an added bonus. So I do want him on my team just so I can, kind of, flex who I'm starting, who I'm not, things like that, and kind of say, okay, cool. I can fill every roster spot, even on, major up, what do you call it? Major off days. So Toro is definitely somebody that I'm going to add and stream in and out. And then the second he falls apart, he's getting dropped like he's hot because he's going out of style like corduroy. So Abraham Toro is just somebody that is a streamer for now. So I'm going to do this a little early so I can at least keep it going here. So coming up next, we got Jonathan India and Nolan Schanuel, guys that are hot, and then how we should handle it, whether they have some future aspirations or are they just, a stream of the pot. We'll find out coming up next. The NBA Finals are here, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performance. Major momentum shifts, the can't-miss moments. Whether you're into game-winning shots, breakout players, there's never a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easier to stay in the game. Before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways to play smart and win big. Which players are showing up at the biggest moments? How can you track their trends and build their next bet? What would it look like to combine a live prop bet and mid game base and as the action unfolds? If I've got to read on who's heating up, why not back it up with a same game parlay? How could a $200 in bonus bets add excitement if you had a $5 bet hits? I mean, the new FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you win. You also get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. So here's the deal, right? You need a little insight. You need a bet. Well, I got one for you. So I'm pretty much just betting on baseball. Like that's kind of like my thing right now. Well, not right now. I mean, you're on a fantasy baseball podcast. So I'm going to tell you what. Guy that I'm really just been looking to see if I can kind of go ahead and see if I can get things done. It's kind of been good for me. Right now, Evan Carter for the home run. You got Evan Carter for the rib. And then any of the pitchers that are starting in that same game matchup that I can do for an over-under on the strikeouts and then do a plus of that number. So like if it's 5.5, do a 6+, and you're pretty much gold. And then pick a guy from the other team that's in the same matchup and just do for a hit that you think is going to get a hit that night. And you're going to walk away with at least on a $10 bet, 100 and change. So place that bet today on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. And if you want a little bit more than what we offer in this 30-minute podcast, check us out on the Insider Track. Look, you want to get waiver wire rankings, you want key facts and highlights that we think you should remember every day. And if you want your questions answered, check us out. The link's in the description below. You'll be able to join us and get your questions answered in 24 hours. So links in the description below. Make sure to join today. But let's get back into it. Like I mentioned at the top before the break, we got Jonathan India coming up on here. And Jonathan India is playing for the Kansas City Royals, obviously now. You're no longer with those Reds. 38% owned, has second, third, and outfield eligibility. And this last week has been pretty darn good. 5 runs, 2 bombs, 5 ribs, batting .280. Already has a hit on tonight, so let's keep going to those hit counts. And India is somebody that I don't really feel too strongly about or too convicted about that I think has any long-term value. Look, he's playing good. Do not get me wrong. The season numbers look good. He has 230 at bats, 27 runs, 11 doubles, 3 bombs, 18 ribs, 27 walks to 38 strikeouts, batting .248, 667 OPS. So some of these stats are good, some of these stats are bad. I'm looking at it like this, right? I'm looking at where India is just somebody that is going to be a good streamer. He's hot. We're going to add him, and then we're going to move on. I don't think we're going to count on him having those, rookie of the year kind of type stats anymore, or that progression. I think we're well past it. He's now 28 years old, so he's truly just a stream candidate, and it is what it is. So Jonathan India needs to be streamed. Again, 38% owned, playing for those Kansas City Royals with that positional eligibility flexible at second, third, and outfield. India just needs to be added everywhere. This next guy here, Nolan Schanuel of the Los Angeles Angels, is looking at another guy that I truly like. 11% owned, playing first base, 4 runs, 5 ribs, 2 stolen bases, batting .400. So one thing I like about Schanuel is he pretty much hits my itch of batting average off the waiver wire. That's my big role. If you're new to the show, you'll learn that any guy that's hitting for average off the waiver wire needs to be added pretty much immediately. And the fact that it's first base and that first base is pretty limited if you didn't pick up CES is a help. Now, Schanuel isn't going to crush it in the counting stats because 1, he plays for the Angels. 2, he's not a guy that hits home runs. He's batting .284, 320 of the month, and a guy that just is going to just put up consistent play week in, week out, and in the batting average category. And if you're a guy that's hurting or, needs to supplant some of the bad, batting average guys on your team, he's the perfect guy to do it with. He's not going to, he's going to be reliable week in and week out. He has an xWOB at 357, expected batting average of 289. Launch angle is always great. Never chases, never whiffs, never strikes out really, and walks like a monster. He's good. He's just a really good baseball player. So I'm going to roll him out there on weeks where I need a batting average boost over the weekend with a guy that can count on to put the bat to the ball and put it in play. So that's what Nolan Schanuel is. Definitely add him. 11% owned. Can't really go wrong with Schanuel. Wish he just would have panned out the more than what he's displayed because the what do you call it? The college play that he put up was pretty good, and I really thought he was going to translate a guy that thrusted himself to the bigs. But it is what it is. Nolan Schanuel should be added for the short term at least. Let's move on. Let's switch up. Let's go into pitching. So about Shelby Miller, the closer right now for the Diamondbacks. So Puck has been on the IL for the whole season. Martinez has gone down again, I believe. Let me double check. Yep, hit the 15-day IL again and dealing with UCL sprain, which never looks good when you get a UCL sprain as a pitcher. So what does that tell you? Well, Shelby Miller is the next guy up to get all the saves for the Diamondbacks, and he's been pretty good. And why not? Shelby Miller is somebody that we kind of know. He's 34 years old, been in the league for a little bit of time. And hey, if you can get some opportunity and get some save shots, I'm going to take him. 6 saves on the year already, 26 innings pitched, 27 strikeouts, a 1.69 ERA, and a whip of 108. Looking good so far. Obviously, there's going to be more exposure coming up, and that's kind of a key part. But you know what? He has a lot of things I like in terms of when I'm picking up a closer. Do they have over a K per nine? Are they having the save opportunities? Are they able to keep the ERA down? Yes, these are all things Shelby Miller does. So he should be added. I mean, if you're passing up on any closer that has the job, you're doing yourself a disservice. So add Shelby Miller now, and he's a serious value that you just can't pass up on. Let's move on. Let's talk about Quinn Priester of those Milwaukee Brewers. So he's been looking good over the last, actually pretty much over the whole season, but specifically over the last month. 33 innings pitched, 3 wins, 23 strikeouts, a 2.43 ERA with a .99 WHIP. You know, he's been looking really good. That's a whole month. Atlanta handled the business, 6 innings, got the quality start, 7 Ks, the win, a 1.5 ERA with a 1.17 WHIP. Handled himself against Cincy, which at Cincy of all places too, 5 innings, the win, 4 Ks, a 1.8 ERA with a 1 WHIP. Handled Philly as well. Didn't get any strikeouts during that game, but only had a 3 ERA, .67 WHIP, but got the win and the quality start. Handled himself against Pittsburgh, handled himself against Cleveland, Houston, St. The list goes on and on. He's only had what 1, 2, 3 bad starts out of the whole season. Now, Priester isn't somebody that you're going to count on for a long term, but just pitched today, yesterday, might pitch next either Sunday or Monday. That's when he would be the next man up. And Priester is somebody that's just been handling business. Why wouldn't you pick up a guy that's been pitching this well? Not that I think it's going to last. Under the hood isn't great. So do not have any long-term expectations. But if the matchup's a cupcake matchup, I'm going to do it. So go ahead, pick up Quinn Priester and see where this journey takes us, because quite honestly, he could be another waiver wire gold that at least gets you through over the hump and should provide some fantasy value. Now, I'm going to hit it again early because we need to. I got coming up next Sandy Alcantara, David Bednar, and Chris Paddack, guys that I feel should be added, and guys I'm actually excited that might be finally bouncing back. Coming up next. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The cracking of the bat, the roar, the crowd, the smell, the ballpark food, and if you're looking to go to a game last minute, go to Game Time. Makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute ticket deals, all-in-one prices, lowest prices guaranteed. Game Time takes the stress work out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, tickets prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you score incredible deals. I recently grabbed last minute tickets for a game, and Game Time had unbeatable prices. Literally just did that. Unfortunately, the Phillies got crushed against the Milwaukee's, but I got amazing seats sitting so close, row 10, right off first base for $54 a seat. So it really did make out like a bandit. I love that I can preview my exact seats before purchasing. Not bad. And surprises when I get to the stadium. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account and use the code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, we are back in it. Latter half of the show. I got 3 names left, and it's going to be a good one. So let's get into it. So about Sandy Alcantara, who has had one of the ugliest starts to a season we've had. Playing starting pitcher for those Miami Marlins, and a guy that went from absolutely incredible to having TJ and not looking great. But hey, his last start against Pittsburgh handled himself really well. Went 6 innings, got the win, 6 Ks, no earned runs, and a .67 WHIP. Handled Colorado, but I can go out there and handle Colorado. Got shelled against San Diego, Angels in Tampa Bay, and a few other teams. It's been a pretty ugly season. At least the last 2 have been better. Might get Washington over the weekend or have a decent start next week. Look, I'm not ready to give up on them. 2 good games. I don't care if they're bad or good. All you need is a confidence booster, and you can get right back in it. It's really just called a slump buster. And Sandy Alcantara is somebody that I feel needs to be added because I'm seeing him being dropped literally everywhere. Look, it's not like things have completely fallen off the wagon and he's lost all the wheels. He still has his fastball sitting at 97.3 miles an hour. Yes, it's flat as can be, but he's producing ground balls. These are things that are in the positive signs. The control we always mention is the last thing to come back when you return from Tommy John. So we need to be a little bit more patient. Unfortunately, you might not be in a position to be patient. So if he's out there on the waiver wires, I'm adding and I'm stashing. If there's a cupcake matchup, I'm going to roll him out there. And if not, I'm going to keep him because I don't really want to drop him. I want to see what the adjustments are made at the All-Star break because, he's not playing in the game. And see if he can make some adjustments and come out in the second half super fired up and see if he can turn it around. So add him and be patient. Let's move on. Talk about David Bednar, closer and a guy that I honestly didn't think was going to have a job this year. But hey, here we are. So David Bednar is playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates still and has had 2 saves over the last week and got a save tonight. So make that 3 saves over the last week. No earned runs, 8 Ks, and has a win on the week and a .33 whip. Looking really stout. Now, hey, he's the one that's getting the save opportunities 3 in 1 week. That tells you, hey, he's got the job, which tells you, hey, he needs to be added. Bednar has been good in the past. For how long is going to be, I'm not sure because he's been so inconsistent over the last couple of years. But hey, 54% owned. He's still up there and 56% of leagues. He definitely needs to be added. Things are looking in the right direction for him. Fastball is sitting at 97 miles an hour. He has an expected batting average of 223, an xERA of 3, which is, a little bit better, which is better than his ERA currently pointed out. Whiffing guys 29% of the time, creating strikeouts 34% of the time. Walking guys only at 5.7 rip. Now I'd like to see him produce a little bit more ground balls and suppress hard contact, but hey, we're working on it. But right now he's an ad. If he can hold down the job, it's his to lose. So David Bednar is somebody you need to add immediately just based off the fact that he's getting the save opportunity. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Chris Paddack. Chris Paddack is an interesting one. All right. I look at him and I go, what do we do? Guy that really has never really panned out, but has been solid over his last couple starts. Going up against Toronto, went 6 innings, got the quality start, 3 ERA with 2 strikeouts and a 1 whip. Solid. Handled Seattle the week before with 10 strikeouts through 8 innings and a 1.13 ERA with a .63 whip. Right before that, Tampa Bay handled them as well. Handled Cleveland, handled Baltimore, handled San Francisco. Got hit around by Boston, but then went back to it. Cleveland, White Sox, Atlanta, Detroit, all great starts. So he's been pretty consistent this season, which I like. He's also under a K per inning, but not too far off. And over the last month, in total, 71 innings pitched, 2 wins, 52 strikeouts, 3.53 ERA with a 1.12 whip. Chris Paddack is looking like he's putting on a show as of late. Under the hood, Arnott isn't as impressive. Expected ERA is actually 3.99. Expected batting average at 254. Fastball velocity is still decent at 94 miles an hour. Average exit velocity is definitely high at 90 miles an hour. But he's getting guys to chase pretty often. But we're not seeing it translate into strikeouts because not really creating whiffs or Ks. But suppressing, barreling, only allowing that nearly 7% of the time. Would like to see him produce a little bit more ground balls, things like that. But getting great extension. I like Chris Paddack. I think that for the short term and the consistency that he's been showing, he needs to be added just based off of that. And the second he gets lit up, then you drop him like he's hot. I don't really care after that. Chris Paddack is a guy you need to add in the short term because Chris Paddack is performing. So let's see what happens with Paddack. Let's look at also his next matchup, see if something can come up from that. Going to go up against Houston. Now, Houston's a hit or miss kind of situation. Either they're really good or they're really bad. With there being no young, the way he's playing, I might roll out there and see where this journey takes us. So I'm going to roll out Chris Paddack. I'm going to add him and see how it handles it. So let's see. Worst case, if you're, not in need of not in need of the ERA because it's absolutely tanked or too good that it just can't explode anymore and will not lose the category, then I'll roll him out there. We'll see. So Chris Paddack is a must add. Guys, thank you for listening today. Dom will be doing a Dolo one tomorrow. So with that being said, have a great rest of your day. Please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, and do everything you can to share this show because we truly appreciate it. And when you're done, check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB. With that being said, guys, peace out.